Hola, muy buenas tardes. Soy Ana Elena González Treviño del Centro de Estudios Musicales de la UNAM. Tengo un gran placer de recibir el día de hoy al doctor Aaraón Díaz Mendiburo del Centro de Investigaciones sobre América del Norte, que nos visita en nuestra sede en el King's College London. Y estamos felices de tenerte aquí. Hacemos la extensiva de invitación a los colegas del CISAN, les mandamos muchos saludos y adelante, por favor, Aaraón, bienvenido.
Pues gracias, estoy muy feliz de estar aquí. Muchas gracias por el recibimiento tan caluroso que he tenido aquí en la sede de UNAM en Reino Unido. Y pues el día de hoy la idea es que si es posible la gente que está conectada como entablar un diálogo, si tienen algunas preguntas, pues pueden ir, no sé, a lo largo de la charla y externando sus comentarios y preguntas. Entonces, pues me presento, yo soy investigador del Centro de Investigaciones de América del Norte y previo a que entrara al centro, que me incorporé hace casi ya 4 años, estuve trabajando el tema de migración y movilidad de mexicanos y mexicanas en Canadá, pues sobre todo en la zona de agrícola, un programa que se llama Programa de Trabajadores Agrícolas Temporales. Entonces hice investigaciones tanto de maestría como de doctorado y postdoctorado en esta área, pues investigando sobre los impactos de este tipo de programas en la vida de los y las migrantes. Hace 3 años y medio que me incorporo al CISAN, empiezo a trabajar el tema de la responsabilidad social empresarial en la industria de la cannabis. Sobre todo, pues me he centrado en Canadá, que ha sido mi tema de lugar de estudio por muchos años. Esto me ha llevado a diversificar los estudios en el sentido de enfocarme al estudio de la cannabis, pero digamos no desde la cuestión jurídica o médica, que es donde más se han desarrollado estudios, sino desde una visión social, desde una visión antropológica, desde una visión del trabajo social. Entonces, pues les voy a dar un poco de antecedentes de lo que estamos haciendo en la UNAM, otras colegas y otros colegas, respecto a los estudios sobre cannabis en la Universidad Nacional de Montreal. Entonces, tenemos que hay varios estudios que se están generando y podemos hablar, hay un seminario que se lleva a cabo en el Instituto de Investigaciones Jurídicas que se llama el seminario 420. También por parte de la Facultad de Medicina se lleva a cabo un diplomado internacional bastante interesante, complejo y diversificado sobre el tema de endocannabinoides. Esto pues por parte de la Facultad de Medicina. Como les comenté, este seminario de 420 tiene su sede en el Instituto de Investigaciones Jurídicas y es un seminario permanente. En este seminario han asistido pues varios investigadores que se enfocan sobre todo al tema de la legalización. Y no solo investigadores, sino también activistas han participado a lo largo del tiempo que lleva el seminario. También vale resaltar que tenemos este diplomado que es muy importante, pues cuenta con investigadores de talla internacional y obviamente también investigadores de la Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México. Pues es un seminario bastante complejo y pues bueno, tiene un costo para pues seguir promocionando la investigación de la cannabis, pero desde una mirada más hacia la cuestión médica. Y bueno, en la Escuela de Medicina cabe destacar que hay un laboratorio que está encabezado por el doctor Oscar Próspero García, que dedica justamente a la investigación y divulgación de la cannabis desde el punto de vista médico. Bien, recientemente, bueno, ya hace un par de años, se publicó este libro que es como, yo diría que es para todos aquellos que quieren estudiar la cannabis desde el punto de vista médico. Este libro recupera una investigación bastante profunda con bastantes artículos sobre el tema de la marihuana, pero desde el punto de vista de la salud y eso está coordinado por el rector no, de la FUNA. Ese, bueno, está fácil de encontrar tanto en línea como en papel impreso. Bien, pues les comento un poco de lo que yo estoy haciendo. Yo estoy desarrollando esta nueva línea de investigación dentro del Centro de Investigaciones sobre América del Norte, y bueno, se basa fundamentalmente en estudiar la cannabis desde un punto de vista teórico que se llama, bueno, el concepto, la teoría de la responsabilidad social empresarial. Este concepto vale mencionar que se generó dentro de los estudios de la gestión empresarial. Yo tomo el concepto para estudiar esta responsabilidad social empresarial, pero enfocándome a la cuestión laboral, y hago el estudio de la corporación más grande del mundo que se llama Cannabis. Entonces, mi estudio se basa sobre todo en las narrativas de los distintos miembros de los grupos de interés. Quiere decir que tuve que entrevistar a ex trabajadores, porque los trabajadores de Cannabis firman un acuerdo donde no pueden dar información de la corporación, sino hasta un año después de que dejaron la empresa. Entonces yo me centré en ir a hacer trabajo de campo a este lugar donde está Canopy Grove, se llama Smith Falls, que es cerca de Ottawa, como a 40 kilómetros, y me di a la tarea de entrevistar a trabajadores, pero también a gente de la comunidad para saber cómo es que desde su punto de vista concebían y veían si se llevaba a cabo esta responsabilidad social empresarial que Canopy Grove enarbora a través de sus distintos comunicados de prensa. Entonces, es una especie de contraste en observar cómo el discurso se construye a partir de la corporación y cómo el discurso se construye a partir de los trabajadores. De alguna manera, quise poner a dialogar estos discursos y ver las congruencias e incongruencias. Uno de los elementos que destacan en este libro, que bueno, es un libro que está ya a punto de salir impreso aproximadamente quizá en un mes, que podemos ver en la siguiente diapositiva cómo está organizado el libro. La que sigue, yo no lo regresaba. La que sigue, justamente, está organizado en 3 capítulos. El primero, lo que me dio la tarea es de investigar, de alguna manera, fue una investigación de gabinete, cómo es que se construyó la estigmatización de cannabis en Canadá, cuáles fueron los elementos y actores que participaron en esta creación de estigmatización. Eso es una cuestión histórica que está en el primer capítulo. En el segundo capítulo, justamente, empiezo a dialogar con el concepto de responsabilidad social empresarial, a partir de cuándo se creó, cuáles fueron la intención de crear este concepto, y de ahí me paso justamente a la cuestión de la responsabilidad social empresarial de la agroindustria canadiense. Doy una introducción al tema de la agroindustria, que es lo que yo había venido trabajando por 20 años, bajo la mirada de los trabajadores agrícolas en esta agroindustria, y como finalmente la cannabis es una planta, pues ahora sí que es como el mismo marco en el que se está desarrollando la producción de cannabis en Canadá, bajo estos esquemas aparentemente de responsabilidad social, pero ya en la práctica se observa que no hay una responsabilidad social. El tema de la producción de la cannabis se está haciendo en producción masiva y justamente se están generando la misma violación a derechos laborales que es en el resto de la industria en Canadá. Entonces, en esto empiezo a hacer este diálogo, este análisis, justamente en el segundo capítulo, y en el tercero ya es, digamos, más trabajo de campo, ya es una etnografía a profundidad, donde me di a la tarea de hacer entrevistas a profundidad con los distintos actores que participan en esta, digamos, cadena de producción y de este mercado de la cannabis. Bien, bueno, entonces este libro está por salir aproximadamente en un mes, ya a la mano. Ahora, paralelamente he desarrollado otro proyecto, que esto es, me invitaron a editar este número de Voices of Mexico, se llama Cannabis Speaks Out. La revista de Voices of Mexico, bueno, tiene varios años de publicar, y cada número que se hace, se publican 3 números al año, tiene una temática diferente. Para este número yo fui el editor invitado y lo que hice es reunir a investigadores, activistas, artistas, escribir, digamos, con las contranarrativas respecto a la cannabis. Digamos que en estos textos no vamos a encontrar que se estigmatiza la cannabis, sino al contrario, justamente es una respuesta a todos estos más de 100 años de estigmatización que tiene la cannabis. Entonces, podemos ver una diversidad de textos que hablan sobre, digamos, beneficios de la cannabis en torno a la medicina. Hay, bueno, fotografías de un artista que presenta la cannabis desde distintas perspectivas. También hay textos que tienen que ver con la legalización de la cannabis en México. Cabe mencionar que los invitados a participar en este texto no solamente son de México, sino de otras partes como de Canadá y Estados Unidos. Justamente un diálogo a través de perspectivas que regularmente no se conocen en este tipo de textos, ¿no? Entonces la idea justamente es desestigmatizar la cannabis a través de textos académicos, y en este caso de divulgación. Entonces, para este justamente número se reunieron en total de 22 autores y autoras para dialogar, para visibilizar otras narrativas. Pues algunos de los títulos que podemos ver en este número, pues uno habla pues justamente sobre las cuestiones del cáncer a partir de un relato de vida de Ortega, que fue escrito junto con Ramírez, de alguna manera. Luis Rubén, que es antropólogo, egresado de ciencias y ahorita en el doctorado en sociología, se dio a la tarea de generar un diálogo con Ortega para crear este artículo. También, bueno, tenemos el artículo, junto con otros, como les mencioné, de la cuestión de los trabajadores dentro de la industria de cannabis, por el antropólogo Martín Otañez, quien ha trabajado el tema en los últimos 10 años, representante e investigador de la Universidad de Colorado en Denver. Por mi parte, pues participo con una entrevista que le hice al fundador, justamente al cofundador de Cannabis, que fue el CEO por muchos años, que se llama Bruce Linton, y que hace aproximadamente 3 o 4 años dejó de laborar ahí por cuestiones, bueno, ya tomaron la decisión los shareholders de También tenemos la participación de colegas del CITAN, en este caso es Liliana Cordero, que trabajó el tema de la cannabis vinculada con las primeras naciones. Otro de los artículos bastante interesantes, y justamente desde la universidad, es el trabajo de Victoria Xochipilli, donde justamente relata el vínculo que ella tiene y el uso que ella le dio a la cannabis para cuestiones de salud y la defensa de los derechos del nivel de desarrollo de la personalidad. Pues también tenemos el caso de Fernando García de Alba, que habla más de cuestiones políticas dentro de la cannabis, y pues el caso de Oscar Rodillo, que es también un colega del CISAN, y ya él aborda la cuestión del documental desde la mirada de las representaciones, pues, diversos documentales que abordan. Entonces, bueno, como ya les mencioné, también este libro de propia autoría, y otro de los proyectos que quiero compartir con ustedes es esta colección que es como única en su especie y es innovadora en el sentido de que quisimos reunir nuevamente a investigadores, investigadoras, estudiantes de licenciatura y de posgrado, activistas, artistas, en esta colección que lo que busca es observar, analizar, describir cómo a través de las artes en Norteamérica, Estados Unidos, Canadá y México se ha contribuido a desestigmatizar la cannabis. Entonces, esta colección está justamente ya en el horno. 2 de los primeros volúmenes están a punto de dar a luz en este año y 2 en los primeros meses del año que viene. Esta es una colección donde participan justamente 37 artistas de distintas partes, sobre todo de Estados Unidos, Canadá y México, que tenemos también la participación de un artista alemán que hizo sus estudios en California, donde justamente van a analizar el arte como desestigmatización de la cannabis. Esta colección se va a dividir en 4 volúmenes. El primero habla justamente de los activismos, cómo ha sido su lucha y cómo han utilizado distintos espacios para justamente desestigmatizar la cannabis. Hablando de esos espacios, del segundo volumen nos vamos a centrar en espacios públicos y privados, tanto en Canadá como en Estados Unidos y México, para ver cómo ha sido la lucha, en qué espacios se ha participado, cómo se han transformado estos espacios para justamente pues, denunciar abusos, para generar política y demandas a través de distintos espacios, tanto en Estados Unidos, Canadá como en México. El tercer volumen nos vamos a enfocar a las cuestiones audiovisuales. Entonces hay análisis. Por ejemplo, hay un artículo donde analizamos películas de factura estadounidense de 1990 a 2020. ¿Qué películas dentro de la factura de Hollywood han contribuido a la desestigmatización de la cannabis? Entonces se hace un análisis de estas películas, obviamente se anotan las fichas técnicas y ver cuáles son los elementos que contribuyen a la desestigmatización. Pero también hay otros artículos donde, por ejemplo, abordan las portadas de los libros, cómo es que se están construyendo las portadas, cuáles son los elementos que incluye y cómo esto contribuye a la desestigmatización, o análisis de revistas, por ejemplo, la revista de Cáñamo, cuál es el peso que este ha tenido, cuál es la contribución a desestigmatizar la cannabis a través de esta revista, y otros elementos audiovisuales. El cuarto volumen habla justamente de narrativas tanto orales como escritas y también elementos de música que han contribuido a la desestigmatización. El título de este libro se llama Romper estigmas, arte y cannabis en Norteamérica. Algunos de los artículos de estos libros van a estar en inglés y la mayoría en español. Y va a estar editado por el CISAN, obviamente parte de la Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México, y también la Universidad de Colorado de México. Finalmente, quiero compartirles que estoy trabajando en un documental vinculado con la cannabis. La idea es que a través de estos últimos 2 años estoy recuperando historias a través de mi cámara. Estoy grabando a activistas tanto en Canadá como en Estados Unidos como en México de manera presencial vía Zoom, donde básicamente les pregunto,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
Was it? Oh.
Okay. No pasa nada. No problema. No. So, donde este documental me centro básicamente en una pregunta. Lo que quiero saber es cómo los activistas que entrevisto han enfrentado el estigma a nivel individual y cuáles son las herramientas que han utilizado para llevar estas resistencias de manera individual a los colectivos, a los grupos donde participan como activistas. Entonces, básicamente son 2 preguntas. Hago close-up a ellos, a ellas y a ellas, preguntándoles esto, y estoy compilando todas estas historias en videos. Lo que voy a hacer a partir del año que entra es reunirme con estudiantes de educación media superior, pensando en estudiantes de CCH y prepas de la UNAM, reunirme con ellos, con ellas, dialogar y que se adentren a estas narrativas, al igual que también sobre informar sobre la cannabis, de construir estigmas e informar y de alguna manera pelear con la información falsa que también se ha creado a lo largo de pues casi un siglo o más de eso. Entonces la idea es que se adentren y que generemos diálogo, generemos talleres para que vayan ellos y ellas incorporando estas narrativas y después reescriban estas historias, las historias y lo que les genere a ellas y a ellos y a ellas en obras de arte. Entonces, van a tener que ser estudiantes que ya lleven, pues que tengan una trayectoria en las artes para que se tengan y desarrollen sus habilidades plasmándolas en obras de arte, digamos, en piezas de música, o en pintura, o en escultura, o en quizá generar una obra de teatro. Y lo que yo voy a hacer con la cámara es ir paulatinamente, ¿no? Organizándome con todos ellos para ir justamente grabando el nacimiento de estas obras y después ya el documental hacer un cruce entre los testimonios breves de los activistas y el diálogo con la creación de las obras. Esto va a estar como articulado a través de la música. Entonces, esto es lo que estoy trabajando y espero pues que esté listo justamente el año que entra. El objetivo es que esta creación sea una cuestión colaborativa, no es una cuestión vertical de lo que quiera hacer el director, sino que también vaya surgiendo a partir del encuentro con las y los estudiantes de educación media superior de la Universidad Nacional Autónoma. Y pues eso sería todo por mi parte y espero justamente que ahora se generen unas preguntas, pues ya sea en español o en inglés, pues para que abramos el diálogo. Esa es la idea. Muchas gracias.
Muy.
So we can start, to talk in English, and if you have some question, I don't know if you follow and you understand what I say. Yeah, and then, if you have some question related with cannabis, with my research, the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México, what we are doing now as a researcher, I'm part of the Center of North America research. I'm doing different research related with cannabis, more related with from the social work and anthropology perspective. Really I'm not doing like a legal or medicinal. I try to figure out more about the rights from the workers, from the arts perspective, different probably now the more traditional research. The more traditional research, I can say, at least in Mexico, is more or from the law perspective or from the medical perspective, and not just in Mexico. I think all over the world, or like at least in Canada and in Uruguay, and even Portugal. But I'm looking for other perspective related with cannabis. Yes. So.
Well, another perspective that I recently was this amazing book called Cannabis and Spirituality.
Okay.
I don't know if you know the I'll find the details in a minute. It was a collection of essays by various people who may have been activists, who may have been looking at things from a different angle as well. So it wasn't just what the folks say. But I'm also here today because the 3rd of November, there's an amazing whole day of it's medical patients convention, but you will get amazing people like names I'm trying to remember them now, but the guy who's David Nutt, isn't it? Anyway, I highly recommend that you go there.
talking about the people who have tried with their doctor. For example, it could be anxiety, depression, and they've tried to get a prescription, they've tried all the medicines. Once that's happened, then they are able to be referred and get a fit efficiency.
Yeah. What's your name?
Jasmine.
Jasmine. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry I'm late.
No, I understand. I'm
I'm
thinking.
so sorry.
Yeah, don't worry. It's working, so no worries. So, and thank you for reminding me. Also, like, and we have research related with the spiritual use of cannabis since many years ago. And for example, in Mexico, Escuela Nacional de Antropología e Historia, Instituto de Antropología, as a part of the UNAM, they have been developed also research related with this cannabis as a spiritual, and I didn't mention, so thank you for reminding me this very important part from the use of cannabis as a spiritual plant. Thank you.
You mentioned Portugal, like I didn't Portugal in research.
Yeah, no, I just say that in Portugal also there's research, and we can say that it's a progressive country now with cannabis. But yeah,
It's very, very new.
yeah, it's like from Europe. I think it's very progressive in the legalization of cannabis. But yeah, I don't know if the research related with that. But yeah, it's they are working like also like in Germany probably soon. I don't know, probably next year it's going to be legalized as a recreational way of use cannabis.
I'll have the conversation. And okay, the companies. So
Yeah, the book that when I was focused, that was related with corporation and social responsibility under this big corporation.
So in a hypothetical situation, provided three different contexts, hypothetical situation that is legalized in Mexico, what can Mexico learn? Canada experience?
Many things. It's a long list. Okay, at least Canada has been facing a lot of issues after legalization, because legalization is not the end of the problem. It's just probably it's just, for example, to change the perspective of the stigma. You don't bring just to legalize cannabis. So it has to be more related with education, with the population, related with stigma. So the people think that if they legalize, the stigma is over, finish, or also a lot of people think that if it's legalized, everyone is going to use cannabis. So this kind of pre-notion, this kind of idea, we can learn what happened in Canada. For example, in Canada, they thought that it's going to increase the use of cannabis. Really, that didn't happen. So continue a little bit high after legalization, but then decrease. So the companies, they think, oh, this is the actually green gold. So the money is over there. So they try to produce, and a lot of also entrepreneurs from other areas, they switch. They start producing, like for example, flowers or apples or even wineries, and they say change the product. But what happened is really the numbers now are decreasing. So they put a lot of money, they invest, but they really have not been pretty good. So they want to just get money, and that's a problem. So there are many. What other thing? is the people that really use cannabis for years, using cannabis and growing cannabis in the way of illegal or irregular, you learn a lot about the product, plant, about the relation. So many of that people were not invited to the big cake because to give the license in Canada is very bureaucratic and costs a lot of money to have like a permission. Who has that a permission? The big people, you know. So all these people went out of the market, really. So when I did interviews, that affects even the quality of the product. So in one of the interviews, they told me, this, what we are producing now on the industrial way of producing is garbage, it's not good quality, because it's the, you know, the production is like a, yes, like a tomato. You know, if you produce, I hear that the guy that I interviewed was the chief of one of the biggest dispensaries in Canada. He said, for example, if my grandma grew up her own tomatoes, the taste will be different than this big Sabura company corporation, you know. So, and a lot of users, they relax and they say, you know, this is not good quality. Other thing, for example, is Canada has been very criticized for that, is because, for example, one flower came in this size of bag. The bag were not very well for the ecosystem, were not recycled. So one like this tiny flower came in this, so they start producing a lot of garbage related with this plant that has to be more like friendly with the environment. So we can learn about, you know, who's gonna be the owner of the license, for example, in Mexico. Who will be access to produce? What will happen with the small farmers? You know, what will happen with it now also with the farm workers? Canada, another problem that faces is the agricultural, the agribusiness. Canada is supported for migrant. Canadian, the most of Canadians, they don't want to work in the agriculture, because it's bad salary, it's dangerous, and it's very hard work. So what they have been start facing in Canada is lack of people working that. So they are hiring as now are people from overseas, but under the same precarity pattern as they use, because Canada created a pattern, the seasonal agricultural workers program in 1966 with the Commonwealth countries. So since then, most of the fruit and veggies and agricultural is supported by migrant workers. And Mexico joined that program in 1974. So what is important to mention is that in 2002 was created another program, you know, to also hire people from everywhere in the world. And now Mexico are sending, not under the Ministry of Labor, on this program that 1974, not under that program, but under private companies that hire Mexicans to work in the cannabis. So also that's an issue because some of the workers, they don't have the information or capacity or to work in the cannabis. They don't know like where I'm going to work. They don't say, they are not really transparent when they hire them. So they arrive, and sometimes they arrive under this work permit, but also some of the farmers, they don't legalize farmers. Because in Canada, not all the license, not all the entrepreneurs are legalized. In Canada, it's still dealing this illegality and legality in the cannabis industry, because some of them even they don't want, or they try to came in the legalized market, but they have been facing a lot of problems, even the farmers, you know, like a bureaucracy, paperwork, lack of money, very expensive, the complexity. So they were maybe part of the legalist program, but then they became again too big, because if not, they wouldn't survive or they wouldn't compete. So some of the workers that they have been there working, they think that it all is legal in all Canada, or all the enterprises are legal because they know that it's legal in Canada, but they start working, and sometimes, for example, talking about the south of Ontario, the police came to, you know, the inspection, and then they told it, and they have to be deported because they were part of the illegal market. So it's very confusing. So there's many things that as a Mexico, we have learned about how the cannabis industry is managed in Canada. So really, Canada has been facing a lot of problems, you know, even below, there's many gaps, still gaps below, you know, some issues related with some of the farmers say, why is it easier to work, to have an open field of cannabis, why the greenhouses have more like a norms or regulation to follow than the open fields, you know, so they complain, so different issues. I had the opportunity to interview the first enterprise founded for First Nations, the Mohawks in the Akwesasne territory, and they just tell me a lot of stories because they have to go to a lot of paperwork that Health Canada put it and said it, but the Akwesasne territory, the Mohawk, they even had a clue how to follow this the process. So they face a lot of problems, a lot of issues. Finally, they got it, and then now they are working, but in different way as is working a corporation. So in Mexico, I can mention that there are a lot of groups, different groups, not just in central Mexico, in different states in Mexico, and they are trying to endorse the cultivation, but more like a small scale. So that could be an opportunity, like a start to build even community, creating a small production, you know. And if you create a small production, if many people participate in create a small production, you maybe can like create a kind of resistance to the big corporation and to the market. And could be like an opportunity to start like a movement, not just to cannabis, start like a producing our own food. Of course, that's not easy, you know. We have to start changing many habits and also to get access to small pieces of land. There are people like in Mexico City that it's impossible even have like a, you know, like a flower in you, even you don't have a garden, but could be like a possibility, you know, to start thinking about how we produce our own plants, whatever you grow it, and the idea of consume, you know, why we still like consume like in the capitalism way. So there's a lot of things that we can learn from the cannabis in Canada.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
You mentioned that, well, one issue is that small producers that have been producing cannabis for years, they have like the know-how this industry. They are facing these big corporations, and are these big corporations part of the industry? I mean, have they been always part of it, or it was just a big corporation to do with another industry that said, okay, cannabis is going to be a business, I'm going to do it.
I can say from my interviews and my experience, small experience doing ethnographic work, is that these big companies, this big business, even the dispensaries, they don't come from the cannabis.
Not even the agricultural industry.
Not even.
Okay.
For example, one of the guy that I interviewed that is like a maybe now 10 dispensaries in Ontario, plus Ottawa and parts of Ontario. The owners, they hire one guy, but that he knows about cannabis, but they come from the yogurt industry, the yogurt industry. So even nothing to do with that. And so yeah, I can say the big companies, yeah, they don't. One of the papers that I read for my book, and I quote in my book, is that also is very rationalized. So the most of the CEOs in Canada from this corporation are not women, not black people, just white people. So even these, and then when you go and visit different dispensaries and stores in Canada, you can realize how the market start changing the idea of cannabis. Really, from my point of view, they are cleaning the idea of what was cannabis. So you arrive to the stores and everything is very high-tech. Even there are no plants inside the stores. It's like going to the Macintosh store, really, with iPads. You click, you do this, and you order. And even though the smell, not the colors are more white, So they are trying to change the conception, and maybe, from my point of view, they are trying to deconstruct the idea of cannabis, but construct in the idea of a product, merchandise, And they are thinking what kind of merchandise we are creating for the young people. That's, from my point of view, probably in 10 years, the young user of cannabis, they are not going to have a clue what happened from the movement with the cannabis as for example, the gay community in the 80s that they use it for have a better life where they sick with AIDS, So all this social movement, all this resistance, the spiritual thing, they are going just to erase. They are doing this nowadays in the market. So we have to learn that also from these big countries, big industry, how are they using the product. So really you don't see anything that's related with the meaning or different meanings of the cannabis. Even you don't see the plant. You just see computers. Now a lot of in Canada bottles of a Caribe cooler, because they are using cannabis now in drinks. They put a lot of money, a Constellation Brands, in Canopy Grove, put I don't know, probably $5 million. I don't remember, a lot of money to invest and start producing a beverage. So that's the idea of creation. And so now, yeah, a lot of eatables, So it's not doing gummies with the beer colors or something like that. So really, they are doing really hard to change the different meanings that the cannabis has it, and just create a product and erase all this movement. Now, as a part of the LGBT community, I think is quite the thing, the idea of everything now is gay friendly, but also the market trying to erase And of course, what is gay friendly? Who's gay friendly? With whom? You know, also, I mean, gay friendly is if you pay the cruise, if you have the money to pay certain kind of hotels, stuff like that. So I think it's still the same. So as I mentioned, for example, the majority, this paper was wonderful and amazing. They studied all the companies and they realized who were the CEOs, where they come from, who are they. So just, I think, like, I don't know, 1% was part of the Afro community, and a few percent women, the most of them were the same idea of some kind of characteristic. Who are heading the CEO of the companies under what idea of cannabis? No, thank you.
When the companies hire the people, how can the companies be like accountable for the safety of the people that they're hiring? It's like the police goes against the people that aren't illegal, like, away, but how is the company because they're the ones that ask.
What in my experience, for example, I will tell you my experience because doing this in cannabis, I'm just starting, so it's a very good point. But what I see, for example, in the agribusiness in Canada, because it's on their talking about this under this seasonal agricultural worker program, an agreement between Canada and Mexico. When the farmers are like violating human rights or labor rights, some of them they just change the name, and then they have the opportunity to still hire in the same conditions. So there's like a kind of tricky things that they do, you know, to still producing. What I know related with, because I didn't get in the one greenhouse that was illegal. Someone told me over there, you know, like how that's illegal. So even the police can go and they don't really do something else. So they don't close. So still, because now we can say that in Canada, the market, they are together, illegal and legal. Actually, one part of the idea of the legalized was like getting taxes from the legalized market, and the Justin Trudeau, as a part of the campaign, as a first minister, he said, okay, this could be a very good opportunity to get more taxes, and also he said that to work with the teenagers that they use in the illegal market, you know, and create more safe space for everyone and stuff like that. And even the government, they think that Canadians will move to the legal market. But also that not happen because of many things. As I mentioned, quality, the prices, you know, the legal market is competing, so they reduce the prices. So really, they are like competing together. Maybe like a year ago that when I was in Canada, I think was like even 70%, something like that, of Canadians still in the illegal market. Even it's legal. I mean, even they can market, you know, and for many things, the quality. Also, when another thing when it was legalized, the dispensaries, the stores were very far. So the consumers was easy if you buy from your neighbor. You buy you couldn't close conveniently. And also because you will also have the credit card. So they, you know, they say it's legal, but what are they gonna do with your data, with the information? So the people, you know, so still like if I pay with credit card, you know, so still, because the stigma is still there, even it's legalized in 2018, stigma continue, you know, so there's different ways to avoid this illegal. There's some question I don't know. So yeah.
I was wondering, could you tell us a little bit about the history of how it became stigmatized?
Yeah. Okay, so in Canada and all over, so there's many ways. One that we can say was racial, in USA and even in Canada. In Canada, with the people that came from Asia to build the railroads, used like an opio and then in Mexico with the farm workers as a programa bracero. Before that, they use the cannabis as a part of the also like a spiritual, or even they face the working conditions, the hard work and stuff like that. So in Canada, what they did, many social actors contributed to build the stigma. So through of course, the rules and the law, was one part of that. But also like, for example, where like a writer, she was writing in a public magazine, and after that, she wrote a book, The Black Candle, and then also that book were used as a argument of to say that cannabis is very bad for health. Is if like the men use that, they were gonna rape the woman. So this kind of rumor, like a theory of rumor, has been built during the 100 years. Other point that was important to mention is that before these 100 years, cannabis was used in Canada and America and Mexico. So, and they use because of many ways. From the cannabis also, we say the hemp, el cáñamo, was used, and was this plant used to and is very sustainable. So different companies like paper companies, because from the cáñamo you can get paper. So at that time, for these big industries, they didn't want to. They feel afraid of the production of cáñamo. For example, with cáñamo, you can produce cloth, and the duration, the length of the cloth will be many years. So that's not good for the capitalism. So you need to produce. So also like a big companies related with paper, with oil, with even construction. For example, with cannabis, you can make like a kind of bricks. So that's not good for the cement industry. So it's not just a moral thing. They build the stigma in the moral thing, but also the companies were part of that. They didn't want this plant in the market because they will compete, and probably they will lose in many ways. So, and also, so the government was part of this movement of create a stigmatization, and then add the mass media to contribute to this stigmatization in the social arena. So were different actors and factors that added to this construction during 100 years. And not just in Canada, USA, Mexico, and all over the world. So it has been, and that's why it's very strong, because many actors were part of that, and the stigma were like more than 100 years. So a lot of the generations has this idea, and to deconstruct that is going to be difficult, but also the market, I think, is going to use that deconstruction, but in the way of the use this deconstruction as an advantage from the market. So not easy to understand cannabis from different point of views.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Well, thank you.